This is a Momentum Media production.
Welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show, the podcast by investors for investors.
G'day, Phil Tarrant, host of the Smart Property Investment Show. The summer of fun. That's what other people are having. I'm in the studio here recording podcasts with Grace Ormsby, editor of Real Estate and Momentum Media. Grace, how you going? Locked up in a stuffy studio while everyone else is out working on their suntan.
It is really humid today, actually. Yeah. It's probably the hottest day we've had this summer.
Yeah, it's I reckon a dodgy air conditioning people have been turned down trying to save a few bucks to beat off this inflationary pressures. This is the problem. But we're here, we're recording, everything stays the same as Smart Property Investment. We keep producing podcasts right through the summer break. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. It's funny when people sort of tell me how they listen to this podcast, and sometimes it's quite intimate. When they're sitting in the bath with a candle and a glass of wine, I go, that's a bit weird. Yeah,
we don't need to know that. Maybe if you're in the car or if you're at the beach.
There's a lot of car stuff. There's a lot of people walking their dogs. On a
boat, maybe. On a boat. I wouldn't mind going on a boat and listening to the SPI show.
Blasting out on the airwaves. Cars popular, on the train sort of popular, walking dogs is popular, at the gym is popular, just chilling, mowing the lawn is popular. Anyway, tell us, editor at smartpropertyinvestment.com.au, when you listen to the Smart Property Investment Show, and keep it PG, please. That's the way we like it around here. But Grace, we've decided to do, people always ask us what was the most popular podcast for 2022 or any given year. So this is our top 5 podcasts of the year. Podcast is a podcast in a podcast. It's the inception of podcasts. Did I get that right? Inception? Is that a story inside a story? Or is that Inception? Where we do a podcast on what podcasts
are the most listened to podcasts. So then people know what podcasts they should be going and listening to again.
What podcasts they should be. Now, there's got a preface here, and I've just got the list here that Grace has provided to me. And from what I understand, Grace, this is just the aggregate number. Mm-hmm. And we won't go into two numbers because we don't want to sort of skite too much. But we're getting like 240,000 downloads a month on this show. So put that over a year. That's like, I don't know my math that.
That's a lot of people.
3 million downloads. So these are the podcasts that people found the best. But you're telling me it's a bit skewed. So unlike some good property data out there, this could be a bit skewed because these ones have been around the longest.
Yeah, funnily enough, they're all from January, February 2022. So obviously the more time that a podcast sits on our system, on the site, on it, whatever podcast platform people listen to, the more chances it has for people to
So it's skewed, right?
Check it out,
We probably should do one which is the most popular in the first week. Would probably be a little bit maybe better because when we could go.
You can make that request to the AV team.
I'll go and ask the podcast.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I've
asked enough already, Phil. I'm not going there.
I want to know fast movers, we'll call it fast movers. That'd be good. There we go. Because that gives a sense of what is most important. But to be fair, though, so you're listening to this over the summer, this is when a lot of people consume podcasts, because they've got time to do it. And people go crazy and binge, right? So that's it. So we're going to go from 5 to 1, Grace, but I've built up a lot of suspense, so I'm going to go to a break beforehand.
Just to really
just annoy people in. Like watching The Block when you want to know who wins and they go and give you 15 adverts around soft furnishings and hardware stores. So we're not going to do the same, but here's a message from one of our – we'll be back in a second. See you, bye. Welcome back, everyone. Phil Tarrant and Grace Ormsby running through the top 5 podcasts for the Smart Property Investment Show in 2022. And the Smart Property Investment Show sits on the Property Investment Podcast channels, your one-stop shop. Sounds like an advertisement. A one-stop shop for property podcasts. So we have the Smart Property Investment Show, which is the flagship show on the Property Investment Podcast channel. We also have Investing Insights of the Right Property Group, which I co-host with the guys over at Right Property Group, Steve Waters and Victor Kumar, who tune into this. Guys, how you going? Hope you're enjoying the break. Scott O'Neill from Rethink Investing. We host together the really popular, it's got a super popular podcast, Inside Commercial Property, where we just look at commercial property investing, whereas Smart Property Investment Show and et cetera is very much sort of residentially orientated. I also have the Property Nerds, which is a podcast syndicated on the Property Investment Podcast channel, created by, hosted by Arjun Paliwal, who's happy to call himself a property nerd. That's pretty popular. Real data-orientated type stuff. He goes behind the numbers and gives some sense to how he sees the world and what he's investing in. So you can listen to all those things over the Christmas break.
And more. We've got more coming this year, Phil, but I can't give anything away just yet. But
keep it on the down low.
Times,
keep it on the down low. You also record the Secrets of the Top 100 Agents, which is another podcast.
Yep.
Which is cool.
I do that. So
we don't really put it on this.
No,
this
that's quite industry specific for the top performing real estate agents across Australia. Very interesting, some of the insights. Very good operators in the sense that I learn a lot from just speaking to them about business strategies and business practices, moving your team into the 21st century by going to remote work and all the tech that's out there. There's
some pretty cool stuff. And real estate's great. I like the business of real estate. They're doing it hard at the moment, agents, because the way they get paid is through property transactions. And when there's less transactions, guess what? There's less commission checks floating around. So
you do see a lot of people weeded out at this point in time.
Yeah. While properties soften and sales volumes are down, you see a bit of Darwinism. A bit of Darwinism. And so the same old thing, like anyone could have sold a property for a good price during this sort of rising price period, but it gets a bit harder on the back end of it. So anyway, that's more for RB. And I saw also we sometimes run it on the Property Investment Podcast channel, Real Estate Exposed, with Tom Panos. Tom Panos was the auctioneer, for those of you. He's an auctioneer. He's a real estate trainer for a lot of the great real estate agents through his business called Real Estate Gym, but he was the winning auctioneer at the Block 2022 by about 1.5 or 1.6 mil. 1.5999999.99 dollars or something or other. But there's a lot of question marks still around it, but goes to show how a good campaign can really change, and a good auctioneer and a good real estate agent can change what your property can fetch at the point of sale. But top 5 podcasts for 2022. I've just got a headline here, and I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to give you my instant reaction to it.
Yeah.
Because
feels a little bit like, I don't know, it's not bingo. What's like the lotto?
It's like
you're doing the lotto right now.
Roulette, right? Like,
yeah, that's a better word.
It's property roulette. And the headline here, the wake-up call that put this investor on a quest for financial freedom. Okay, I don't know who this is or what this is. I can't remember the headline.
You did this episode, just to give you a bit of a refresher. This was with Nick Valois.
Oh, that's right.
He's a high flyer. Like he is.
That's right, from
KPMG
Australia. Yeah, I remember this chat. I've just clicked into it, and I'll read out the description around it. This is 10th of January 2022. Have you ever thought about when you will finally achieve financial freedom? This investor found out and decided he wanted to retire earlier with the help of property investing. Smart Property Investors Phil Tarrant sits down with Nick Valois, an associate director of KPM Australia, who recounts how he came into the life-changing decision to invest in property after a wake-up call from a retirement calculated results that he would need to work until 65 or more to have a comfortable post-work life. Nick, who started his journey as an apprentice carpenter, I remember this chat, shares how his several decades of experience in construction and site management given him a firm knowledge to avoid common pitfalls that investors make when it comes to renovating and extending properties. The duo also talks about the ups and downs of Nick's 7-year investment journey while reflecting on valuable lessons learned along the way and touching on Nick's portfolio plan. So this is a great story looking at someone who's gone, I've got to take control of my financial future. How am I going to do it? I've got all these different asset classes. I'll choose property as a primary way of doing it. But he's able to use his knowledge that he has professionally now, but then previously as a carpenter around knocking around building to make more informed investment decisions.
I will say, because I saw this email when it came through, him sort of reaching out saying, I've got a story. I'm not sure if you really want to hear it, but here's my property portfolio. I've never seen a more organised spreadsheet in my life. It was amazing. I was like, Phil, you need to talk to this person and you need to talk to him right now.
Success leaves clues, and you can tell a lot by how someone presents their information. If it's sort of all over the joint and weird fonts and not formatted properly, typically they're a bit loose in their administration, but when it's done like that, it gives you a real good insight of how someone's wired. So, yeah, that was a really good chat. I enjoyed that. Go and check that one out from January 2022. And a lot of this stuff is timeless, right? Now, I do note that all of our top 5 has nothing to do with the market.
No.
That's all investor
they're
stories.
all investor stories.
All investor
So
stories.
there's plenty more of them coming in 2023 as well, which is super exciting. Some of them I've had a couple of chats with people so far. If anyone's listening and they have a lovely spreadsheet with all their properties laid out and they say, I think I might have a story, reach out. Let us know. We want to hear from you.
And that's editor@smartpropertyinvestment.com. That goes to you. You collect that email. And I absolutely echo your sentiments there, Grace. More stories, get in touch. It's good. If you chat to anyone who's ever been on the show, they go, it's great fun. I really enjoyed it. It's
easy.
Don't worry,
We don't make it tricky.
It's not tricky. We're not going to try and trick you up. Come and have a yarn with us because peer-to-peer learning, as evidenced by the fact that the top 5 podcasts are from property investors, says to me that people want to hear from other people. So please come on. And I really, really encourage the girls or the ladies. Girls or ladies? Girls is okay. It's a bit colloquial. The women. To get in touch. We want a lot more females on the show to tell your stories. So please get in touch with Grace. And if you want to do a podcast with Grace, that's cool. You can do it with me. That's cool. We can slice and dice it in a whole bunch of different ways. But this number 4, Grace, in our top 5 of SPI Smart Property Investment shows for 2022, how this IT professional built a 9-property portfolio in just 2 years. Okay, this sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen a picture. I remember this bloke being a term of endearment.
Because I did the podcast.
I know.
Anthony Joseph Crosswin. It was a great episode. It's always, I really actually love when we hear from people that haven't made a move into the property space. You know, we do see so many people, and good on them, that develop a passion for property and then go, I want to work within that space. But it's really nice to see, I mean, as even Nick Valois being at KPMG, you know, he started as a chippy. He did his time in the property space before he moved sort of into the construction sector. But this was a really cool one. Anthony's still working in tech, and but it's insane how quickly he's done this because he took real advantage of the pandemic. It is well worth a listen.
Because he started right at the cusp of the pandemic, right?
So without any prior knowledge of equity, Anthony deep dived into the property market at the cusp of the pandemic. He, just listened to podcasts really, and then did his own research. Still worked full time throughout the whole pandemic as well.
It was pretty aggressive though, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, not personally, but his strategy and his execution was pretty aggressive, which is okay. You can do that. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people would find it a bit too risky because he did start buying 2020 when things still weren't necessarily looking great for a lot of people. But $5.5 million portfolio in 2 years.
It's pretty good going.
Yeah.
We should do a catch-up with him. He's probably still at it, going hard. There's a really good photo of him there as well. He looks quite happy, probably because he built that portfolio.
Yeah, he got in the market right at the right time. But, you know, even some of the lessons that he learned, and given he didn't even know what equity was before 2020, you know, talking about getting the right property manager, investing in landlord insurance, and then even just the importance of data. It always seems to come back to data field, doesn't it?
Yeah, you got to know your numbers to invest properly. Now, another story.
Spreadsheets.
And it's a bit... I'll forgive you on the clickbaity headline, but yeah, a bit of clickbait is pretty cool. People love it. Starting an 8-figure portfolio with just $7,000. Okay, this sounds interesting. Let's have a look. I'll click into it.
Yeah, another one. Is
this another Grace Ormsby special?
This is another one that I did. So this was with Yong Zhang, and he did start with just $7,000. So while he is Sydney-based, I love talking to people that come from different backgrounds. An immigrant came across to Australia, really didn't know where to park his money and decided that real estate was the place to do that. And now he's got a property portfolio worth $13 million. So he's done all right from it, you know. And I even just love, he talks about how learning should be a never-ending process for investors. And it's something that we can bang on for years and years, but unless you're actually walking the walk, you're not really going to pay attention, are you?
No. And what I find with podcasting, Grace, is people get so passionately invested, and property is a bug, to be fair, investing in property. People just get obsessed by it and absorbed by it. And you typically find that's a really good thing, but it's also a really bad thing. If you can control it and do something about it, it's really good. The negative is that when you absorb or obsess yourself so much in something and you binge on podcasts or you binge on property data or you binge on information, you've got to have the mental rigor to be able to separate the collecting of information and research with action. So for those people who absorb themselves, analysis paralysis. When people absorb themselves in it, get the information they need and take action. They're the good property investors. It's the other people, which, by the way, is a lot of people. They just sit there going, it's not the right one for this reason. It's not the right one for this reason. It's not the right one for these reasons. They're the people still saying that 3 years later, and typically they just get pissed off and can't speak to a buyer's agent is what happens. But really good podcast there, Grace, with Yong Zhang. Go and check that out. That was the middle of Jan again. Popular during the summer period. We've got another break, 2 more to go. Stay with us. We'll be back soon.
Want to slash thousands off your home loan repayments? Whether you're an investor or homeowner, we know how important it is to find the lender that suits your unique situation and with the best rate. If you've not compared your home or investment loan in the last 12 months, you may be able to cut your repayments today with a different lender. That could mean more money in your bank account and less stress when it comes to paying your loan. Find out why more borrowers are turning to Finny to refinance their home loans. Call us now on 1300 002 023 and find out what you could save, or visit our website finny.com.au to book an appointment.
Welcome back, Phil Tarrant and Grace Hornsby from Smart Property Investment, breaking down the top 5 podcasts on the Smart Property Investment Show for 2022. And, you know, the key finding is people want people's stories. Mm-hmm. The experts are interesting, but they want stories. But this number 2, though, this is someone who
is an expert, but is also an investor.
He's an expert and he's also an investor, and he's got there's a lot more diversified these days. But he's been in the game for quite some time. Damien Collins from Momentum Wealth. No connection, by the way, with Momentum Media. We just
share half a name.
We share half a name, and but we see the benefits in momentum. It goes back to my point before the break. Once you're on momentum, do something about it. Don't have negative momentum where you stop doing stuff. But this is an inside look at Perth's property market. And we recorded this at the start of Jan. And go and tune in. I did a podcast with Damien about a month ago, I think, recapping the Perth market. So it's good to catch up with Damien. Damien was the most recent, by memory, president of the Real Estate Institute of Western Australia. I think that's right, Grace. Really good operator, smart bloke. He's got his property buyers agency as a property management business. He's also got a new funds management business for real estate investment trusts. And I had a chat with him last time I got together with him. But you asked, we listened. It says here, Grace, whether you're a first-time buyer or been a while since you last waded into the Western Australian real estate market, we have the inside scoop on what's happening in the booming region. In this episode of Smart Property Investment Show, Phil sits down with Damien Collins, President of Real Estate Institute of Western Australia, REWA, Manager at Momentum Wealth, to give us an all-inclusive update on the current conditions in the state, particularly in Perth. What we spoke about when we last got together was pretty consistent with this. We touched on this podcast, looked at how some of those trends and themes have evolved. Damien's got a really practical view towards the inherent value of real estate inside of Perth comparative to other states. And he sort of echoes, Adelaide and Brisbane. You can still pick up property at what is a different level to those states right now. So I know a lot of buyers agents are super active in Perth right now.
It's had a moment. Perth has been the moment, actually. It's probably a better way to put that. Yeah,
it's come back a bit, like in those numbers we spoke about last time we got together, Grace. But I can see why that's a very popular podcast. Go and tune into it. You can find it just on the feed, wherever you listen to the podcast from January 24th, just before Australia Day, 2022. Number 1, the most popular podcast. I don't know what this one is, but I'll read out the heading. It says, "On a roll, how this investor surpassed 30 properties by the age of 30. Okay, I got an inkling about who this is.
You did do this one.
Number 1, Grace.
Mm-hmm. I'd expect nothing less.
How do you feel about that?
I mean,
next year, I reckon Grace Hornsby number 1 podcast. And it's good to see you doing a lot more.
Yeah.
People are really resonating. It's good that we've got a good balance between we've got different styles of doing stuff, and you ask different questions. So I do. So you probably do this more effectively because I normally just sort of say what I reckon rather than letting
I like to let the guests talk.
Yeah, let the guests talk.
No, but it's been fun. Some of the stories that I've got to talk to people about, and especially, we've even had a few more female investors jump on over the course of 2022 and listening to them. And some of the people that have even reached out and go, thank you so much. Like, I've heard this other person speak and now I think I can do the same. And anyone else that wants to do it, seriously, it's fun.
Yeah, come in and do it. And it's good that we're both recording these podcasts, Grace, because we're sort of a generation apart. I'm not like super old, but you're sort of a lot younger.
You've got a few years on me, I will say that.
A few years. But as part of sort of investing in property, I'm sort of mid-career, right? Like I'm still buying stuff. So
you're not over the hill yet.
Not over the hill yet, no.
Just to reassure our listeners.
No. And but you, like, I'm representative of my life stage. And I think in many ways you're representative of your life stage. You've got, your early career now making money where you start thinking about doing more in property, and that's cool. And there's a lot of people who resonate with your story and where you're at, because a lot of our listeners are very similar cohort, right? Sort of pains around affordability and doing all that stuff you do. When I'm not going to even try and guess your age. I'm sure I can find out, but I'm not going to. But me, sort of different. Married with kids and trying to create wealth and all that sort of stuff, and that's very, very common. So it's good we can do both, which is cool. This podcast, Sam Gordon from Australian Property Scout, pains me that he's number one. Sam, I don't know how you managed that.
I mean, 30 properties by the age of 30 probably has something to do with it. Doesn't it?
He's doing well, Sam.
He's doing very well.
Yeah, Property Scout, finalist in the REB Awards for property management.
For Buyer's Agent.
For Buyer's Agent of the Year, sorry. He's doing well. The first time I spoke, I've known Sam for years now. The first time I spoke with him, he just finished, I think he used to be a rabbit farmer or something like that.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about being.
Yeah, back in the day, and he's completely.
There's been a lot of rabbit puns that went around for a very long time. I think he's dropped that now, but we're bringing it back up.
Bringing it back up, sorry, mate. But such a great story about someone who has taken control of their financial future through investing in property. And guess what? He loved it so much he turned it into his career. Now he helps other people do it at the Australian Property Scout. And I sort of catch up with Sam sort of semi-regularly. If you're tuning in, mate, congratulations on your journey through property, mate. It's much like I was saying with Grace, you're representative of a particular generation of property investors. I think a lot of people can learn from not only the way you've done it, but your tenacity, your resilience and your fortitude to take control and build this portfolio. And it's a nice number, 30 properties by 30.
He's actually at 31. I think it just didn't quite sound as good as 30 properties by 30. Well, no, that was the thing too. He just wanted to hit that goal and then he actually surpassed it. So he's doing something right.
Doing something right. A lot of people say that. Yeah, it's a lot of, the good thing is outside of this network of sort of property investors, I don't know if you spent much time in America. If you do something good in America, people want to belly bump you and high five you. And that's what happens inside of this community. People want to go, how did this guy do it? How do I emulate that? Outside of it, people who just go, well, he doesn't need 30 properties. What about the 20? Well, he doesn't need 30 properties. He can't live in 30 properties. Why don't we make all those properties available to other first-time buyers? Well, guess what? He's given it a crack. He's given it a red-hot go, and guess what? He's been successful, and now he's created a career out of it. It says the last time we checked in with this investor, he had 18 properties under his belt. Now, not only has he reached his personal goal, buying 30 properties by 30, he's surpassed it. In this long-awaited update, Phil Tarrant sits down with Sam Gordon, Director of Australian Property Scout, and a full-time real estate investor, to give us and insiders look at his formidable 31 properties spanning several states. He did well through COVID as well.
Because actually when you look back, it was October 2019 that he had 18 properties. So 13 properties basically, give or take.
Give or take. Sam looks back at how he started his investment journey at 19. So he's been there for, 11 years with a lemon unit buy, shares how his goalposts moved through the years and highlights the strategies achieved to achieve $15 million valued portfolio, questions his thoughts on buying houses versus units, metropolitan, regional, which locations is around next buy. And I think he told us as well. So that's cool. Nice one, Sam.
Yeah.
We'll hear a bit more of him next year. If you like him, let us know. We can get him on. I'm sure he'd be happy to come have a yarn with us. There's top 5,
That's
Grace.
That's the top 5. Just like that. Inception of podcasts.
Done. A podcast about podcasts. The Seinfelds of podcasts. What's that? It's a show about nothing, right? That's probably a bit more substance in this, to be fair. Maybe not as funny.
Summer series is a bit interesting. Maybe a little bit less there than a normal episode.
Maybe. I'm going to call it Summer of Fun.
Yeah, I like that.
Summer of Fun. Fun in property. Probably should be fun.
A good chat.
Good chat. Grace Hornsby, editor, real estate Momentum Media. If you want to listen to Grace on the REB podcast, that's Real Estate Business, just search Secrets of the Top 100 Agents. And while you're there, you can probably tune into Real Estate Exposed, where myself and Tom Panos talk about stuff in real estate that no one else wants to touch.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, and
ruffle a few feathers.
We ruffle a few feathers. He ruffles feathers. I deliberately try and
you stay so diplomatic. It's very funny to watch, actually.
Yeah, you should hear us off air. Giving it, maybe that's what we should be recording.
I do hear you off air. That's the funny thing. Yeah. Before you start on that show, you're in the office.
Yeah.
No secrets here.
To be fair, though, like what we talk about on the show is what we talk about often.
Yeah.
Like it's
not filtered. It's not.
We don't probably say as many F-bombs.
No.
And it's a lot more PG, which is appropriate because, what's really funny, we talk about how when people listen to podcasts, and we've had some feedback because sometimes we have the occasional guest that uses profanity, which we do not encourage. But sometimes we get feedback saying, can you please make sure that all of your podcasts have no swear words in it, because I listen to it in the car when I'm driving with my kids and they're really, really interested in it and we don't want swear words in it. So we have listened to that, and I don't think anyone's sworn on this for a couple of years.
No. I'm just thinking we need to probably target that younger audience a bit more. Get Bluey involved. How do we get Bluey on the show?
I'd love to see a Bluey episode on property investment.
Yeah.
I could write that. I love Bluey.
Maybe we should make some inquiries.
Go and speak to our friends over the ABC.
See what we can do.
Yeah, it's Bluey's cool. How do you know about Bluey?
I didn't come down in the last shower.
No? Bluey wasn't around when you were a kid, though.
No. It's just, it seems to, it's permeated pop culture. If you don't know about Bluey, you're not. I've seen a couple of episodes here and there.
It's so good.
Yeah.
What's your favourite episode? Do you have one?
I mean, the one that's sticking out in my brain, because I did actually watch the whole thing, was just the State of Origin episode.
Oh, yeah.
Them trying to explain.
The Decider.
Yes. Yeah. And then how they got the commentators on there. Yeah, it's like the modern day Kath and Kim.
I think it's brilliant. My favourite's Sleepy Time. Some really good classical music. I'm sort of a bit of a fan. They really use music well in Blue. I think it's brilliant. It's won awards all over the joint. Anyway, maybe we can do a Blue episode. Maybe we can get Bluey's dad in.
He'd have some good advice.
Maybe
he probably has a couple of. He's a mum and dad investor for sure.
Oh, absolutely. They must have an investor. Bluey's mum and dad, Chili, is the mum's name. Such a cool name. Would absolutely have to have an investor, mate. Because he's a archaeologist, I think.
Is he?
Yeah, or a
I haven't watched enough to know his profession.
But I reckon they are representative. They are representative of the Australian property investor. Most people think it's like rich, highfalutin, Ferrari driving people. No, it's Bluey's mum and dad.
With a couple of rat bad kids.
You see their house. There's a house which you're allowed to. There's an Airbnb that someone's recreated. Yeah.
Wow.
There's an Airbnb.
If you're the owner of that Airbnb, please reach out.
Chat. Why did you? But they've recreated it. Recreated it exactly. So Bandit is Bluey's dad's.
That's right.
It's a Bandit and Chili. Anyway, the Healers. Great chance to talk about.
Sorry.
How these things digress. It's a Smart Property Investment Show where we talk about all things property related. Smartpropertyinvestment.com.au is where you can get more info, more podcasts there. Please, one favour, if you can do this, because you've got so much time on your hand, you're sitting around on the summer tuning into us on the Smart Property Investment Show, please keep those reviews coming. Team get a real kick out of it. I'm on the microphone with Grace, but we've got a great team here that do all the heavy lifting. They're sitting here now in the break, moving dials and knobs and keeping us sounding good. So they get a real kick out of it. You can keep those reviews coming. Be super appreciative. See you again next time. Until then, bye-bye.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.
HR Leader is your source of news, insights, and more for HR, leaders, and people managers. Subscribe today at hrleader.com.au.